it's Charlene from Tranquil Tuesdays, and today I'm gonna make a black tea. I know black teas are kind of the least sexy and least glamorous of teas, but you know, they need some love and attention too. And so today I'm gonna make a Qimen black tea, which is a type of Chinese black tea that's grown in Qimen, Anhui. I am going to first heat up this teapot and the decanter. Like I said, I think that's a very important first step whenever you're making tea, to kind of get all your pieces ready, sort of like heating your pan before you pour in oil and start cooking. Okay, my teapot here holds about 150 milliliters of water volume, and I'm gonna add this tea. These are very tiny little curls. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon, which is so funny, right? I'm doing a teaspoon of tea. Okay. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. And then I'm gonna do a rinse, which we've done with all the other teas. And like I said, a rinse is pretty much kind of like stretching before running. You're priming your leaves to really open up and release their flavors. And for black tea, you do want to use water that's pretty hot, pretty close to boiling. I like to use something between 200 and 212. 212 is boiling. Okay, so there's just in and out of there. That's the rinse. Okay. So I'm gonna add to this first steeping, and then I guess I can put it here first. This is just to let it cool down, like, you know, one little second before. You're not worried about burning the tea so much, but with black tea, you are concerned about oversteeping. Not quite as concerned as you would be with green tea, but I'm sure you have all had a cup of black tea that was steeped way too long, totally astringent, that bitter kind of sour, tight feeling in the back of your mouth. That's not the most pleasant flavor. So I'm gonna steep this for probably around a minute to start out with. What else was I gonna tell you? Well, while this is steeping, I can tell you one interesting thing about Qimen is it is the traditional base of English breakfast, the English breakfast blend of teas. But there are lots of stories about Qimen that are not just about its role as the base of English breakfast tea. So I'm going to include a link below in the description that has lots of different stories and pictures of Qimen's storied history. One other thing about Qimen, or about black tea in Chinese culture in general, is it's actually called red tea in Chinese. It's called Hong Cha. As you will see when I am pouring out this first steeping, the color of the tea liqueur is actually quite red. It's a nice golden red hue, and that's why it's called, all black teas are called red tea in Chinese. Or actually what we call black tea in English is red tea in Chinese, because there actually is a very niche category of black teas. That's a whole other video. All right, so we're gonna try this first. Ooh, it's hot. Oh, it's so good. So like a really nice black tea on its own has so much robust flavor. Like, this one has this nice like caramelized sort of honey sweetness with an underlying robust sort of like almost a pine woodsy flavor. Yeah, it's just a really nice full bodied tea that is a very rich and fulfilling kind of flavor experience on its own. But I do know that many people are used to adding milk to their black tea. And I've got a lot of questions from people about adding milk to teas. And so the first thing I want to say is in traditional Asian tea drinking cultures, adding milk is not a commonplace practice. Milk is not really part of the Asian diet, especially not in China. And so adding milk to your teas would scandalize centuries of Chinese tea aficionados. That doesn't mean you can't do it, though, of course. But I do think if you are preparing tea in an attentive way to really monitor your steeping time, you don't necessarily need to add milk. You don't need to worry about the astringency of your tea because you're enjoying a wonderful taste experience that doesn't need milk. And what I mean by that is there's actually a chemical reason why milk and tea are often put together. So I am going to put on some glasses, my glasses, because they're part of the costume for conferring chemical authority. And I am going to share my attempt to go full Alton Brown on why milk and tea are paired together, not just as a tea culture, but also as in the chemical reasoning behind that. So the first person who really told me the chemical underpinning of how milk and black tea work together is my friend Don. I met him in high school at a nerd camp, and he is a well-known cocktail and mixologist in the cocktail world. And I haven't taken a chemistry class since high school, but I did get a 4 in my AP chemistry test. So I felt I was prepared to share this information with you after some research. So the first thing you should think about is polyphenols. So polyphenols is a chemical that many plants produce. In tea, polyphenols are actually the antioxidants that are the element of tea that really that everyone talks about when they talk about tea and health benefits. And the polyphenols in black tea are tannins, theaflavins, and something called thiorabugens. I probably did not pronounce that right, but that's okay. And tannins are something you might have heard of because it's also found in red wine and other liqueurs. But polyphenols are astringent. And so that is why if you brew black tea for a long time, you get a very astringent brew. Whereas milk, in milk there's a protein called casein. And the casein protein, when milk added to tea, the casein protein will bind with the polyphenols, and together they create a complex protein. And in this binding, it neutralizes the astringent flavor. So when you have a really astringent brew, which is something that I think is a common experience for many people, you have a big teapot, you add a bunch of black tea, you throw in some hot water, you kind of forget about it for a while, and then you pour it out and you get a super astringent tea, but then you add some milk, you add some sugar, and it tastes actually quite pleasant. So that is the scientific underpinning of why it makes sense in a chemical way to add milk to an astringent, over-steeped black tea. I'm going to take off my glasses now because I think our scientific moment is over. So you definitely can drink tea, black tea, that way, but I would invite you to try brewing black tea in the way that I did earlier, which the proportions and with an attention to time that's like around a minute. And you'll get a wonderful, robust black tea experience that is very different than drinking a long brewed black tea with a lot of astringency and milk added. So thank you very much. I would like to shout out some sources I had for my tea moment. I'd like to shout out my friend Dawn. The book Liquid Intelligence, written by Dave Arnold. It was very helpful for giving me the tools to really break down what I tried to break down earlier. And this website called Compound Chemistry, which is a website run by Andy Brewing, who is a a chemistry educator in the UK. And I would like to thank all of those people and the resources they've shared and helping us understand more about how tea and milk work together on a chemical level. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you have a tranquil Tuesday.